And so that's actually a very honest conversation from, to me, one of the greatest player. It's a team sport. He's won more than all of them. So
I was going to tell you, I never have been a true, I would consider myself a Brady fan, but it's like any other athlete out there. The numbers justify who he is and what he does.
Well, does that work with LeBron?
Huh?
Does that work with?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not Michael Jordan, and he'll never be Michael Jordan.
But if he breaks Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record,
then he's going to be the greatest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. That's just
interesting. I growl not because I disagree. I growl because I.
Yeah, we've had this conversation.
Oh yeah,
before.
we've had it multiple times. I just don't like the man.
And here's my point.
Just retire or don't retire.
No, who cares about that? He can do whatever he wants to. He can do whatever he wants. He can retire right now and then come back. I don't care.
He don't care.
You get to do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want.
Here's the deal. Aaron Rodgers has more quarterback talent.
Yes.
Than probably anybody that my eyes have ever seen. Okay, he's Brett Favre, but better. Okay, and I hate to look. I hate it. I'm a Brett Favre guy. But here's the deal. It's a team game, and so Aaron, for some reason, has this problem with having pretty talented teams and then not being able to win when it matters. And Tom Brady will take a bunch of misfit Division II college quarterback with wide receivers, and he'll win the Super Bowl.
Well, let me ask you this: like in that regard, because I mean, there's all kinds of stories about like Tom Brady yelling at his coach, telling him like, "No, we're going to do this play." You think that's good? Because that don't really seem like a team player right there. That seems like a narcissistic maniac.
Well, I mean,
it's I'm going to be honest with you. It's like everybody else. When you've been around, I'm not going to jump you too much, but if you've been around as long as he has and seen what he has seen on the field, in motion, he's got a – I'm not saying that's the – you shouldn't do that in front of everybody, but you should be able to go back and say, hey, Coach, look at this play on film.
Do you think Peyton Manning didn't rip offensive coordinator all the time?
I don't disagree. I think that Tom Brady probably knows more about football than anybody out there, including the coach. I just don't know about screaming and yelling at your coach on the sideline. Regardless of whether it's Peyton Manning or not.
I think he would probably
as much as I love that man.
I think he would be the first to tell you. You know, last year he broke the Surface. You know, the Microsoft Surface tablet. He got mad. He threw an interception. He came off. He just
Tom Brady.
Yes. Oh, he pitched a hissy fit. All right. He also against the Saints. He threw an interception, and then they had to blur his mouth. He was talking to the Saints bench. He'll be the first to tell you
taunting. Is that taunting?
Taunting.
7,800.
Yeah, he probably got that. But I think that his competitive nature overrides sometimes the ability to keep it all together, but he has so much equity in the fact that he's done it over and over again that here's the deal. I'm gonna let that like if Gavin's watching that, be like, baby, you shouldn't do that. But if you've won 7 Super Bowls, you want to get mad at the coach, be all right. You know, like it'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know if I can get on board with it.
But it's we all like. Just like Derek said, though, if you're in the competitive nature that you're in, especially at that level, and we have no idea what that level is really like. I'm just going to be honest. We have no idea.
Clue.
And can you imagine how
intense, about the stress,
the intensity of something at that level and what's going on?
Now, look, and here's the deal. I love college football. Like Saturday morning, I'm watching game day, and I'm watching – Big 12 noon kickoff, and it's 2 teams I don't even care about, but I'm watching it. But there's nothing on the planet that comes close to the, like he said, the intensity and the competitiveness of like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cleveland Browns. You know what I'm saying? Because they are, even though they're
another level.
It's just like that, like he said, that people
can't
even
been to an NFL game.
No, see, I've never even been.
I've been to multiple NFL games, and I'm going to tell you right now, the first time I watched Atlanta play. Who did they play? Green Bay, actually, when I was in high school. So I drove. Me and my dad drove from South Carolina to there, And when I watched them play, after watching back then, I used to go to South Carolina games more because I went, oh, this is nowhere near the same.
Yeah.
The speed of the game, the intensity of the hitting, everything. Oh, my.
It's interesting because, like, I remember it wasn't until, like, a couple of years ago that it was the first time I went to an Alabama game, college football game.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember sitting in the stands, and we had nosebleeds, okay? And I remember sitting there, and I've watched Alabama football my entire life. I remember sitting there, and, like, literally the whole time I was going, like, did you see how high he threw that ball?
Did you see how far he punted that ball? Did you see how far he kicked that ball?
Yeah, and so, as much as Alabama fans like to say this whenever you have a really good Alabama team, you can take the best Alabama team there ever was and play the Cleveland Browns, and they're going to get smoked.
They're going to get beat. I hate that argument.
So what's really
every
interesting
year.
is like if it's that amazing for an Alabama game, I cannot even imagine what it's like for an NFL.
Especially when you get to watch people like Jerry Rice. And, I watched Joe Montana. You can see Michael Vick. I got to see him play one time. I mean, I'm like, you just don't understand how fast these guys are. You'll see an angle, and you'll think this guy's got him.
Nope.
And all of a sudden, there's a different gear, and this cat is gone.
Well, I mean, even in high school, like when I was at Opelika, and they went and played Hoover for the last regular season game before the playoffs started. And it was a non-region game. And so those games, you're trying not to get anybody hurt, and they're about to go play the playoffs. We're about to go play the playoffs. So that game was a little, but I'm talking like we roll up to Hoover, and Opelika's got some dudes. And I'm like, we're going to beat Hoover.
Walk out.
We had a hard time crossing the 50. I'm not going to lie.
I guarantee
I'm talking like some dudes. And I'm like, and then we ended up actually that same year playing them 5 weeks later for the state championship game in Auburn. And we played better, but we still struggled crossing the 50, and they won another state championship, and they were so squared away, and they were so well coached. Like, Marlon Humphrey that played at Alabama, and he plays for the Ravens. When he played for Hoover, the game in Hoover, and then the next year they came to Opelika. And I've actually been telling my defensive backs this week. They would run a play, okay? Marlon Humphrey would do whatever he needed to do on that play. When the play was over, he would work his back pedal drills in between plays. I've never seen a guy do that. And by the way, you talk about another gear, that's the fastest human being that I've ever seen live on turf. I'm talking like not even close. Like he was by far the best athlete that I ever watched. And so it's just that attention to detail.
Let's go back to Tom Brady for a second. And I'm not just trying to crap on Tom Brady. He just happens to be.
You are.
Well, I don't like him. I'll be the first to say I don't like him.
You don't like the winners. You don't like that.
I like Nick Saban.
Now look, person. I'm not a Tom Brady attitude type of.
Here's what I'm saying. There's a difference. There is a profound difference between an explanation and an excuse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say the dude's won how many Super Bowls? Seven. He's won seven Super Bowls.
What, 10? Could have won 10.
And so therefore, when he wins that many Super Bowls and he produces that much, screaming and yelling at his coach on the sideline is it's understandable. That's an explanation. I'm there with it. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That dude knows football, and therefore he has earned the right to do that. But to me, that's merely an explanation, not an excuse. As a human being, that's crap.
So my question then will be, so how do you transfer that kind of situation into a spiritual realm and to let kids know today this guy.
That's a great question.
This guy
apparently
has
Derek
done
just
that.
says it's okay.
This guy has done this. Excuse me, and he is really well at his craft.
Yeah,
and he has really done it.
You want him to be a role model,
but at the same time, how many parents would go, "I want Tom Brady style training for my child"?
Mm. Well, because I think a lot of people are willing to sacrifice the morality aspect of it to gain some sort of competitive edge, and they leave the character.
Yeah.
They leave. Which, by the way, like I'll just say this: like
He's not getting paid to be a good guy.
I agree. I mean, his job is not, but I'm talking about our kids, like our youth kids, and that's one thing. Like, I won't say that I was nervous about being back in like the football world, but like I will say this: like, there's not a lot of difference from what Coach English and some of the other coaches are hammering Albertville kids on that I don't hammer my youth kids on. You know, like we have core values,
same
and
strategy.
we're you know, toughness, family, discipline. Like we're hammering those things over. Like,
Here's my question though: is Tom Brady doing that, or is he just trying to win a Super Bowl?
I think. Look, here's the deal. Here's what you're missing. You're picking out individual moments. Which, by the way, we all have individual moments that we're
That's
not
true.
proud of.
I was going to say,
But
so I'm not speaking out
and
of both
again,
sides of my mouth.
yeah.
You can find some on Nick Saban too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Any of them.
Plenty.
Any of them.
But you go ask any one of Tom Brady's teammates, and they will tell you probably to a T, all of them, that he would literally die for like the guy for Gronk, and for the guy that you literally never know his name. Like they will tell you that he is the best teammate that they've ever had because he puts. I think, and honestly, I think a lot of his competitive nature is not for him. It's for the team. Like,
I mean, yeah, he's won 7. Was he 88 for?
Which Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he's the exact opposite of that. Yeah, for some reason I seem to like Aaron Rodgers better.
I'll be honest with you. He is one of them guys that I go.
Aaron Rodgers.
If you had half the drive of Tom Brady, just half of it, you would be the most amazing man there is around.
Dude, he'll be on his back foot with no weight transfer, like no athleticism at all on your back foot, and he will basically total right arm dime piece 50 yards in the air in between two people. It's unbelievable.
Have you seen that dude with his shirt off?
Yeah. Did you see him the other day when he walked around?
He gave his Con Air.
Yeah, I was like, he did. I was like, you Nicolas Cage or what?
He's ginormous.
Here's my argument about Tom. And when people want to say for Tom, when people want to say this or that, there's 1 year that the Patriots actually spent money on a wide receiver, and his name was Randy Moss. And Randy Moss was already over the hill at this point. He had 2 years with Randy Moss.
Randy
the first
Moss was
year,
a bit of a turd too.
he was, but Randy will still tell you Tom was his best teammate.
Better believe it.
All right, the year that he had Randy Moss wash over the hill, like still good. Don't get me wrong, still great, but he wasn't what he was.
Not peak.
He broke the touchdown record and the yardage record. And by the way, they lost one ball game that year, and that just happened to be the Super Bowl. So they gave him a wide receiver. And the one time in his career they actually gave him a wide receiver in his prime. And I was just sitting here thinking, if they had 3 guys that were a quarter of Randy, what would he do every single year?
Versus Aaron Rodgers, who cries when they don't draft him.
Yeah, because they drafted a backup quarterback, or because he's not getting paid what he thinks the market should pay him, or any kind of number of complaints that Aaron could have.
Have you? I don't know why you would have seen this. I don't know why I saw it, but ESPN London.
I don't even know why I saw it.
ESPN London came out and ranked who they think is going to be the best quarterbacks of this season. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady was number 12, I think. They put him at 12.
See, they just did him a favor because he's like, that's hanging
baby.
in his locker right now.
They had Kyler Murray at 3, though. And I was like, that dude's getting real close to being dried up. Mm-hmm. Did you see playoffs last year? Mm-hmm. It's bad.
They figured him out. I mean,
oh my gosh,
they figured him out.
So bad.
See, that's another thing. That's another thing that amazes me about Tom. You've been in the league as long as he has, and you know every defensive scheme in the world is trying to figure out what can I do to stop it, because he's not fast. He's not coming out of the pocket.
No,
he just can see the field so much quicker.
So that's actually I didn't use Tom, but what I'm telling my defensive backs is, we're trying to. All defenses, not just ours, all defenses are trying to make one thing look like something
else.
And then when the ball is snapped, it's something else. And so for my guys, what I'm telling them is like, look, we need that quarterback. like when we go play Bob Jones and James Clemens and Sparkman and all these dudes that are getting recruited, and Bob Jones' quarterback is phenomenal. And so I'm like, look, we've got to make him think one thing, and when he snaps the ball, that gives us an extra second or second and a half, because when he snaps the ball, then he has to go to that. Okay, now it's this. Now what do I do with the ball? And Tom Brady will always tell you that he'll tell you, I'm not the fastest. I don't have the best arm. I can't throw it the farthest. And he'll tell you, he said, but before the ball, him and Peyton Manning, before the ball was snapped, it didn't matter how they lined up. It didn't matter what they showed. He had watched enough film and he knew enough that when the ball was snapped, he knew one or two guys that he was going to based on what their defense was.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's a genius in that regard.
Peyton was that way even in college. I mean, you could tell it when he got to Tennessee, because I watched the first couple of games of Peyton, and I'm like, they went, well, they're bringing him in now. He's blah, blah, and I'm going, after he threw about the first 10 passes, I went, it's going to be a long time till he gets to the pros, baby. It's going to be a long time.
What's up? Did you enjoy that clip? We hope you did. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, watch the full episode, and tell your friends about the Curiosity Experiment. Also, if you have any suggestions or topics you'd like for us to talk about, make sure to send us an email at the screen at the end. Thank you.